Hey there and welcome. Today we are diving deep into the world of two surprisingly common intestinal parasites, Hymenolepis nana, also known as the dwarf tapeworm, and its cousin Hymenolepis diminuta, the rat tapeworm. Now, they might be in the same family, but believe me, their lifestyles and how they impact us are just worlds apart. So, let's get right into it.
All right, to kick things off, I've got a question for you. When you hear the word tapeworm, you probably picture something pretty rare, right? Something exotic. But one particular species is actually incredibly widespread. So take a guess. Which one do you think holds the title for the most common human tapeworm infection on the entire planet?
If you guessed the dwarf tapeworm, Hymenolepis nana, you are absolutely right. It's kind of ironic, but despite its tiny size, this little guy is the most common cestode. That's just the scientific name for tapeworm that infects humans. We're talking tens of millions of cases all over the world.
Okay, so let's get a proper introduction to our two subjects for today. They share the same first name, Hymenolepis, but that's pretty much where the family resemblance ends.
Wow, okay, this slide really lays out the huge differences between them. Over on the left, you've got Hymenolepis nana, the dwarf tapeworm, and it really lives up to that name, measuring just 15 to 40 millimeters. And look closely at its head. It's armed with a nasty little ring of hooks to grab onto your intestine. But then you look at its cousin on the right, Hymenolepis diminuta, the rat tapeworm. This thing is a giant in comparison. We're talking 20 to 60 centimeters long. And its head? Totally unarmed, no hooks at all. And this difference really points to who they target. Hymenolepis nana is our #1 human tapeworm, while Hymenolepis diminuta, well, the name says it all. It much prefers rodents.
So what are these things really? Well, the fancy term is endoparasitic metazoa. Let's just break that down real quick. Endoparasite simply means it lives inside its host, in this case, our small intestine. And metazoa? That just tells us they're complex, multicellular animals. We're not talking about single-celled bacteria here. These are animals with tissues and organs, which is exactly why their life cycles are so fascinating.
And speaking of life cycles, this is where their stories get really different. I mean, the most important distinction between these two is all about how they get from one host to the next.
So first up is the dwarf tapeworm, Hymenolepis nana. What makes this one so special, so unique among tapeworms, is that it can complete its entire life cycle inside a single person. But here's the wild part. It can also cause something called internal autoinfection. Get this. That means its eggs can actually hatch inside your gut and start a whole new generation of worms, basically reinfecting you from the inside out. It's this crazy ability that allows an infection to stick around for years.
Now, let's compare that to Hymenolepis diminuta. It's a completely different story. This parasite absolutely needs a middleman. See, the eggs that are passed by a rat are totally harmless to another mammal. They have to be eaten by an insect first, like a grain beetle. The tapeworm larva develops inside the beetle, and the cycle only continues if a rodent, or, an unlucky person, accidentally eats that infected insect, which usually happens with contaminated food like cereals.
So as you can probably guess, these two very different lifestyles lead to completely different impacts on us. Let's take a look at the epidemiology, the numbers, to see just how common or how rare these infections really are.
Okay, brace yourself for this number. Because Hymenolepis nana can spread so easily from person to person, and because of that auto-infection we talked about, it's a massive global health issue. It's estimated that there are up to 75 million people carrying this parasite worldwide. 75 million!
And then, in just a shocking contrast, you have Hymenolepis diminuta. Because people are just accidental hosts, and you have to eat a very specific infected bug, it's way, way rarer. Over an 18-year period, there were only about 500 documented human cases on the entire planet. The difference is just staggering.
But here's the catch. Just because human cases of Hymenolepis diminuta are rare doesn't mean the parasite isn't out there. This study from the Netherlands is the perfect example. Researchers found that even though people rarely get it, there's a huge reservoir for it in the local rat population. I mean, look at this chart. On some farms, almost half of the brown rats were carrying it. So that creates this constant simmering risk of it spilling over to people.
All right, so we know who they are and how they work. Let's move on to the practical stuff. How are these things actually identified, and what can we do to stop them?
When it comes to diagnosis, it almost always comes down to good old-fashioned detective work with a microscope, looking for the parasite's eggs in a stool sample. So take a look here. On the left, you've got the egg of Hymenolepis nana, and on the right,
Hymenolepis diminuta. At first glance, they look kind of similar, but there are some critical differences. Let's zoom in and see what they are.
Okay, so the whole diagnosis really hinges on one key feature. Look at the Hymenolepis nana egg. See those little thread-like things coming out from the inner part? Those are called polar filaments. Now look over at the Hymenolepis diminuta egg. It's bigger, yeah, but look closer. No polar filaments, none at all. That single difference is the smoking gun. It's how lab technicians can say for sure which one they're dealing with.
And what about prevention? Well, the good news is the strategies are pretty straightforward, and they all tie back to those life cycles we just learned about. Better sanitation and clean water help stop fecal-oral transmission. Washing your hands thoroughly is huge, especially in places like daycares, where Hymenolepis nana can spread like wildfire. And for Hymenolepis diminuta, it's all about good pest control, keeping rodents and insects out of your home and especially away from stored foods like grains and flour.
So far, we've pretty much painted these tapeworms as unwanted pests, right? Things to be avoided at all costs. But what if there's another side to this story?
Yeah, because it turns out our relationship with these ancient organisms might be a whole lot more complex than we ever thought.
Just read this quote from a research paper. It kind of blows your mind, doesn't it? Scientists are now seriously exploring how these tapeworms talk to our immune systems. Think about it. To survive inside us for years, they have to be absolute masters at calming our body's defenses down. So researchers are asking, could we learn their secrets to help treat autoimmune diseases, where our own immune system goes haywire and attacks our body? It is a truly revolutionary idea.
Now, all the information we went through for this explainer was compiled using a Gemini deep search. And if you want to geek out and dive into the original research papers and articles for yourself, we've put together a full list of sources for you in a Notebook LM document. You can find the link for that right in the description below.
And that's our look at the dwarf versus the rat tapeworm. Pretty fascinating stuff, right? Hey, if you enjoyed this explainer and learned something new, it would be awesome if you'd subscribe to the channel for more deep dives just like this one. And please, leave your feedback in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.